practicing bhavana, cultivating the mind with metta, loving kindness, is like we are associating with a wise person. This is contained in the first aspect when we listen to the chant of the Buddha's teaching on the 38 highest blessings. And in the very beginning, the Buddha taught the primary importance of not associating with fools. So in this new year that has come, in the first week of the new year, we have determination. It is the determination that arises from wisdom, which sees that if we aren't determined, if we don't set resolutions, and we don't practice following what we have resolved to do, then gaining success will be hard. But when we have determined to do goodness, starting from the first day of this new year 2023, then this is a strength of the mind. Because the mind is important. Like the Buddha said that the mind is important, the mind is the chief. We will do good just because of this mind, and we do bad things because of this mind. When we do good, then this is building good causes, and the result is happiness. If we do bad, then we call this bapo, or in Thai, bap. It is hot. The result is heat. That is, it is suffering. If we summarize it, then happiness and suffering is in this mind. There are some people who want to see what heaven is like. For saga, or heaven, then we look at our own mind. When we give alms, then everyone has a mind that is self-sacrificing. It is a power of mind of anyone who has self-sacrifice and generosity. The heart is gladdened, and all the people feel cheerful and delighted. When we keep sila, taking up the 5 moral precepts, this is something not everyone in this world can do. It is for those with faith and wisdom in the Samma Sambuddha, the perfectly self-awakened Buddha. And even though we didn't meet the Buddha, we have faith in the teachings of the Buddha, which taught us to be free from suffering. But for those with stinginess in their wealth, then they will have just feelings of me and mine coming up. So we recollect on the start of this new year, this first week of the year, that the Buddha was one of great intelligence. He was the teacher of humans and all living beings. He was one far from the mental defilements, and he had attained enlightenment all through his own efforts. He was the incomparable trainer of individuals. We recollect the virtues of the Buddha, the virtues of his great compassion, the great purity, and the great wisdom like this. Then our mind is joyous. Rapture arises easily, and when rapture arises, there is a feeling of inner fullness coming up. Then this is Buddha Nusati Kammatthana, the mindfulness of the virtues of the Buddha as our meditation object. And when we develop the meditation on Buddha Nusati, and there is inner fullness and delight, then it is a merit and parami, a spiritual goodness that looks after us to be safe and protected. When we develop the meditation on Buddha Nusati, we can chant from Itipiso Bhagava Arahang Samma to Buddho Bhagavati. So in one day, we chant this a lot. And when the mind is peaceful, then we may be left with just one word, like Sugato or Buddho. This is a skillful method for our minds to be peaceful and still, to be in samadhi, concentration. And like I have explained before, this samadhi can be used in studies and learning, in doing work and duties, and it can even be used to determine the mind to make blessed water. So if samadhi has a lot of strength, then it can be used to give a lot of benefit. Samadhi can also be used to treat sicknesses and pain. But it's not that it can treat all sicknesses to make a complete recovery. There were some times when Venerable Ajahn Chah would go stay in a very quiet forest monastery in order to relieve his sickness and pain. He would sit in meditation for a very long time. So samadhi has value. May you develop it. What we will come to know and see will be in our mind. There will be happiness arising, just like the happiness that we wish each other. So what sort of happiness will we gain all through this new year? We will get wealth, rank, praise, and all sorts of pleasure. This is a happiness that is related to the way of the world. But the happiness that is of a higher type is if we practice samadhi to the level where our mind is firmly established. We are used to the mind that thinks restlessly, that is irritated and all bothered. We all don't want to have anger, ill will, or the mind that likes excessively. Or we don't want to meditate and be drowsy and sleepy. These things are what debilitate or obstruct the mind so as not to receive peace. But we have associated with these 5 friends for a long time already. We are very close friends. But coming to today, we want to have peace. We don't want restless thinking. So we find a skillful method. We take this restless thinking, endlessly thinking about love and hate, which is just in a frenzy, and we need to train the mind. We call practicing samadhi or meditation. And when the mind has peace arising, then we will have happiness in the mind. There is inner joy and bliss arising. And this inner joy and bliss can arise at the time we are giving alms, listening to Dhamma, or chanting. So we are intent and determined to build goodness and to make the mind peaceful. We develop the meditation on Buddhanussati. We have metta and compassion constantly in our mind, and then one day we will see the Dhamma. There was once when someone asked Venerable Ajahn Chah how to gain results in the practice quickly. Venerable Ajahn Chah said, "You don't have to do anything at all." Hearing this, it went over my head. If you don't do anything, then what will you get to know? See? Because we aren't there yet. But for someone who has already made it, then they don't need to do anything. They have let go of everything, of both rupa, materiality, and nama, mentality. But we sitting here, we have rupa and nama, but we can't yet let it go. So we need to practice first. Just like a child wanting to graduate from university, to gain a bachelor's, master's, or doctorate, asking, "What do I need to do?" For the ones who have finished studying already, they don't need to do anything. They have knowledge already. But if we haven't gained that knowledge, then we need to learn and study first. We need to be determined to study. Those wanting to be doctors need to be determined to study well to be able to become a doctor. Whether being an engineer, scientist, an accountant, and so on, they all require study and learning. In Dhamma practice, there are some people who start to practice and they want to attain results quickly. It isn't possible. Like if we plant rice this year, then it's later next year when we will get the results of planting that rice. So, doing our practice in this year, today, in this first week of the year, it will give results accordingly. But may we firstly understand that when we make merit, it's not that we wait to receive that merit in the next life. The merit is the inner satisfaction and fullness in this life. We do bad deeds, and the mind is hot at the time we do it. So may we be determined that, in this year that has come, all right, we will associate with mindfulness, associate with samadhi, associate with wisdom. We will restrain our actions and speech to have sila. We will be someone who has metta and compassion. We will self-sacrifice. We make benefits for ourselves and we give benefit to other people. We are all people who are givers. Or if we receive, then we will be determined to build goodness. Then there can arise peace and happiness in the village, suburb, and town. So those who give can be someone who has an important duty. Like in the villages, there are those that have the duty to maintain public safety. They have to have mindfulness, to watch over, and not to let those in the village experience difficulties and trouble, theft, or harm. They have carefulness, and they work with honesty and a good heart. They have mindfulness and clear awareness. They have metta and compassion. And then, when the new year comes, the people in those hundreds of houses in the village, they think of this person who has built goodness, and they give gifts to him, of which would be able to make a line hundreds of meters long. And even though their job has not much status, and they may have a low monthly wage, but when the new year comes, they get a big appreciation for the goodness they have built over the year. And the mindfulness we are training in, bit by bit, is the same. It will also give great results. So may we be determined that in the new year, what we will do is to give up bad deeds, to make merit, and to cultivate goodness. We will find happiness and peace in our minds, and then we can know the difference of it in comparison to worldly happiness. We can know what samadhi is like, and more so when we have wisdom to contemplate and see the natural condition, the truth of sankharas, the conditioned phenomena. And even if it is just for a brief moment, the mind will have inner fulfillment and joy. There will be lots of rapture, and it is amazing. We see all the rupa and nama to be anicca, dukkha, anatta, impermanent, unsatisfactory, and not self. We see that everything is a convention. It does not exist. If our heart can get to this state of emptiness, then the mind will become purified. Usually our minds are covered over by ignorance, craving and attachment constantly. It has a sense of self, me and other. Though our mind will become a new mind, but it is new, of the type that has kilesa, defilements constantly covering it. Though the defilements don't cover the mind all the time, and there is a period where the mind gets a bit more new, but it isn't for long. Here, when we can know and see into the Arya Satcha, the noble truths, then the mind sees emptiness. Then a new mind comes up, which can be purified or cleansed. We can see that we usually give blessings like, "May you have new things," or "Happy New Year." This is because new things are good. So this mind of ours, coming from this old mind, changes to a mind that has wisdom, a mind that has emptiness. It is a mind that is radiant. It is not a mind that is dark and obscured. It is a new mind. This is called seeing the Dhamma. Seeing the Dhamma, we see the Buddha in our hearts. So even though we aren't born in the time of the Buddha, but we have listened to Dhamma, contemplated, reflected, and pondered over the Dhamma. We have effort, diligence, and determination. Our minds are focused until we see the noble truths. And this knowing, it is not a knowing which then has proliferation coming up. The knowing that is wisdom is one that does not proliferate at all. There is a clear knowing arising that it's right here. The Dhamma is just like this. Then our faith that we have in the Buddha will be firm and unshakable. So the Buddha wanted us to give our homage to him through our Dhamma practice. And then the corresponding results will arise in all our hearts. So may I call on the Barami of the Samma Sambuddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, all the Bodhisattvas, and all sacred things, to protect and look after all of you, to stay within goodness, to give up the bad, to cultivate merit, and to know and see the Dhamma. May you have happiness all through the year 2023 and onwards. May you grow in blessings.